Get ready. It's time for the...
Welcome back, everybody, to the Me and Jesse podcast. My name is Mark Pavlich, and across the way in the Grove, the one and only, the big sexy, Mr. Jesse Martineau.
Good to see everybody tonight. Welcome to the Me and Jesse podcast. Olympics. Olympics.
Really? Yeah.
You know, I love the Olympics. I
usually do. I usually do.
But we're sucking this year.
Yeah.
We have 6 medals. 1 gold, 1 silver, 4 bronze, as I just checked a minute ago. And but it's hard to watch in this time zone, and I hate watching sports not live.
I totally agree.
Not to mention all the other things around China and all that kind of stuff with them getting a pass and then Putin being there and
you bring it up. You go ahead.
All that kind of stuff along the way. It's like, okay, there's some shady biz going on here. How did these guys get the Olympics again? And whatever. But that doesn't take away from the athletes. I think the athletes need to forget about that part and just do their job at the games.
You're correct.
It's the rest of us that need to really force the IOC into some sort of change or something. But in terms of that, I do love the Winter Olympics. I think the Winter Olympics are awesome. You get some really cool events. I don't really understand mixed doubles curling, but
I'm glad you said it.
But I don't understand why curling couldn't be just like a team 4 with mixed event. Like, it's one of those sports that doesn't really matter. Just mix the team up or whatever. But that being said, too, you used to playing with 4 or 3 other people, and you go and do that. But
you're correct.
There's some other crazy things. Obviously, hockey being a big one, but because the NHL isn't there, already you lose massive amounts of viewership and revenue dollars from marketing, or in commercials, because you're not going to watch. The women's hockey is actually better. Like, it is. Like, I don't mind it. Like, and of course, coming down to Canada and America once again, which Canada's dominated the last 4 Olympics there with them and won 4 straight golds, so going for a 5th. And I hope they do it. Hope they
Me too.
Spank the Americans.
They play tonight. They play tonight. That's not the medal.
That's not the medal. It's a round robin game, but
round robin. So we'll see what happens.
It's one of those ones, and it is always a good game. Like, there's no question.
They don't like each other. That's
don't like
fantastic.
each other. They know.
Can you imagine that? Half the girls in Canada played in the States, played on Boston College or whatever the teams are, and they hate each other, and that's why we want to watch, because they gave us a reason to watch, because the 2 teams hate each other.
Yes, and that's what makes it good.
I'm in.
The problem with the men's side now is that you don't have any of that, because you're I don't know any of these guys, and to be honest, it doesn't really count, because the best aren't there.
You're right. They're not.
I don't think it does. And that's what I don't get about, the Olympics in some of the team sports, because they don't have the best of the best there. Yeah. And so how can you say you're the world champion when you haven't even beat anybody recognizable?
And now you have now that was an NHL thing. NHL decided no.
Yeah, they did because of COVID this year.
Yeah, we're not sending our guys. That's it. We're not doing it. So,
and they didn't ask the players. And some of the players were upset about that. Say, hey, you should ask us what we think about this. But it is what it is, and there we are. They said no, so this is what we're stuck with.
Well, that's your player union, right? The player union has to.
They're going to step in there too. One thing though is cool is that Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, you get to stream all the Olympics right on there. It's actually kind of neat, and you get to pick and choose what you want to have on there.
Exactly.
Super Bowl's coming up. This is media week. Super Bowl's coming up. And,
is our guest in the lobby? Is our guest in the lobby?
Not yet.
He said he is. He just messaged me.
Well,
he says, I'm in the lobby.
I don't think he is.
Oh.
When we come back, we'll find him. We'll find him. We'll get him.
We'll find him somewhere.
Yves Edwards will join us on the show. We'll be right back on the Me and Jesse podcast.
Okay.
Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Me and Jesse podcast. My name is Mark Pavlich. Across the way in the Grove, the big, sexy Jesse Martineau, and our special guest today, everybody, old friend, great human being all the way around, the one and only Yves Edwards.
What is up, Mark? I like that intro, man. I like being a great human being. I'm
Well,
put that in my bio.
Is that important? Is that important now? Don't we agree all that that's becoming more important more than ever to be a great human being?
Man, I think that should have always been the case. You know,
That should
Yeah,
be.
okay.
that's the
You're
way I
right.
was raised. You know,
Yeah.
the golden rule: do unto others. I mean,
Hey,
like,
dude.
that's the way it should always be, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And
But
that
it's
is
not though. But it's not though. But we all know right now it's not in the world, and it's weird because like you're originally from the Bahamas, right?
Mhm.
And how does a kid from the Bahamas like you understand? I've been to the Bahamas, okay, and I know the makeup of the Bahamas. When I was there as a kid, I realized it very quickly. I grew up in Detroit,
Okay.
Windsor area. So when I went to the Bahamas for the first time, I saw something really weird. I was like, oh, everybody looks really rich. Even the white people and the black people looked rich, but they weren't. I knew there was an underlining factor of, wait a second, there's only white people in the casinos, and there's only African American people working in the casino. And I thought, wait a second, this is
Hey.
weird.
One thing, Mark, I gotta cut you right there because Bahamians, like we don't like being called American or
Yeah.
African American.
Okay, correct. But so you grew up in a place where basically, you know, on paper it looked like a first world country, but it wasn't.
No.
Okay.
No.
Correct.
It's very different if you live in the Bahamas for Bahamians. You know, of course, there are some affluent Bahamians, some African descendant Bahamians who got money, but it's a struggle, man. If you go to Baintown, you go to Golden Gates, you know, there's some nice areas, Seabreeze and Yamacraw and like Cable Beach, but like in the bigger parts of town, like I said, like Baintown or Pine. Centerville, those types of areas, it's tough. Golden Gates, um, yeah, like not a lot of Bahamians can afford to stay at the resorts.
Correct.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Correct.
And anytime you see something about the Bahamas, you just see the resort. Like literally, most of the movies you see about the Bahamas covers about 8 square miles of the country.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
for real, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what's the rest of the country like? What's the part that we don't see?
I mean, it's still beautiful. You got a lot of beautiful people. You definitely see a lot. I mean, it's like a working class. You know what I mean? I've driven through parts of Louisiana, even some places here in Texas that look a lot like it does in the Bahamas. You know, we've got nice neighborhoods, we've got the ghettos, but I love to go home because like I love to see, you know, like you see a lot of black kids on the street here, and people like together, like you see a group of 10, 15 black kids walking together, a couple of them with their shirts off or something. I feel like in the past people have been like, oh, that's a dangerous group, or that's you know,
Yeah.
even to this day. But like I remember I went home one time and I saw a bunch of kids walking. I think they were going to a basketball court, but I'm not sure. One of them had a ball, and I was like, yeah, that's like I remember doing that. I remember being in that environment, you know, being with my peoples, and it's just a different life, man. Everybody, I mean, I think if you go to any other islands, Barbados, Trinidad, Jamaica, a lot of kids, especially they want to come to America because it's like the things you see in movies, you know, things you see on television. It's like they tell you it's the land of opportunity. So you kind of aspire to that, or you want to do that, even just to check it out. I was fortunate. My family was a middle class family. I was fortunate enough to travel to America quite a bit when I was young. I spent like a lot of my summers in Miami with my great grandmother, but I was also fortunate to spend some of my summers on some of the family islands. We call it, so Nassau, the island New Providence. Pretty much all of New Providence is considered Nassau to Bahamians, and that's the capital. Almost everybody in the country lives there, really. But we have these other smaller islands. Well, some of them are bigger, but they're just less populated. We call them the family islands, and I would spend a lot of my summers also on one of the family islands in Exuma. And man, you cannot beat that. Like
I bet.
like to this day, I love going back there. I took my wife there early in when we were dating, and like she never been to a place like that. You know, everywhere you have anything you have to do, you got to get on the boat to go do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like the island's like 3/4 of a mile by 7/8. We got 60 people there. It's just it's fun. Like you don't have to lock your doors.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody. You know, it's a beautiful place to be, man.
That's incredible. So how did you end up in America? You said you had a grandmother here, but I find it interesting when people want to come to America because, you know, being in Canada, we almost hear the opposite. Like, get me out of here.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. You know what I mean? But as a kid growing up in the Bahamas, I was a huge basketball fan.
Oh, awesome.
And then, like as a young kid, I watched. Like we had Michael Thompson. I don't know if you guys remember him.
Yeah.
But he played for the Lakers.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Rick Fox.
Oh yeah.
Like, literally, a lot of people don't know this, but Rick Fox and Michael Thompson, like in my mind anyway, they were the same kid. They have a similar look.
Yeah, they do.
Same schools in the Bahamas.
Wow.
They both went to Canada for a while, and then they played basketball here in America in college and got drafted into the NBA. But they went to the school called Nassau Christian Academy, which was one of the rival schools from my school, St. Augustine's College, and we beat them every time. It was that good. But
you know, most Canadians say Rick Fox is our guy. You know, like that's how Canadians do it, eh? We're like, if you ask any Canadian on the street right now, where's Rick Fox from? They're gonna say that guy's Canadian 100%.
Yeah, we took him.
We almost took Lennox Lewis we claimed Lennox Lewis for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. You know, Canada, like you guys like to take people because I get it.
We do.
You guys kind of screwed up from the get go because you could have had. I heard this before. You guys could have had like American technology, French cuisine, and British culture.
Yeah.
You guys went with British cuisine, American culture, and French technology. So I get why you want to claim Rick Fox.
That's a good. I don't know if I've heard that.
I've never heard that before,
That's
but
pretty
now it's going to be quoted on this show forever, man, and everybody's going to use that against us now.
So we're joined by Yves Edwards here on the Me and Jesse podcast. Yves, like when did fighting come in? You said basketball. It's quite the jump to fighting.
It's a big difference, right? So as a little kid, I love like martial arts. I saw Enter the Dragon at 3 years old, and I was fascinated. I watched all the martial arts movies that you can imagine. Like I had this probably a 3-hour tape of just Jackie Chan stunts from his movies. Like it was just dubbed with music over it, and I used to just watch it all the time. Cynthia Rothrock, you know, just all these traditional martial artists in these movies, and I would watch, and but I love that, but I played basketball. I thought that was the most realistic thing. There was not a whole lot of martial arts in the Bahamas. We had traditional karate, and I tried it in the 4th grade, and it was nothing like what I imagined. You know, it was nothing about what I wanted to do. And so I still loved martial arts. I still did it on my own. I was one of those kids. But like I came to America to play basketball. Yeah. Like I was really hopeful that I could come here and I can do well and, you know, go to school playing basketball and potentially go to the NBA. Unfortunately, I'm 5'9". I mean, does that mean I couldn't go? No. But
point guard.
Start to stack against me.
Yeah.
And in high school, when I first moved here to high school, I was like, whoa, this is a whole nother level. I was really good at home, and I did well. We won a national title for private schools in the Bahamas. But there was just, when I came to America, it was just different, and I didn't step my game up to the level that I needed to be. I still played through high school. And then, but even in high school, I fell in love with martial arts. I found a traditional kung fu school in Houston.
Oh.
Started training that. Everybody on the basketball team, you know, they used to call me Karate Man. They loved that I could do like a spinning kick and hit the nets.
Oh, geez.
Oh, wow.
You know, so it was a long time ago. But like when I graduated, no, I think I was a senior, and my dad, I was reading the TV Guide magazine that said kickboxing versus judo versus karate versus kung fu, and it was the first UFC. And I was like, I begged my dad, you know, I was like, Pop, you gotta get this. My stepdad, I was like, you gotta get this. I'll pay for it. It was like $20. It was like, I'll pay for it, just please get this pay-per-view. I want to see it. And I thought it was going to be super dope. I mean, I thought it was going to be Bloodsport. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We all did. Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, I did Praying Mantis Kung Fu, and then Jason DeLucia did Praying Mantis Kung Fu, and he was in the first.
That's right. That's right.
Fought, and I was like, I saw Hoist and Art Jemison in the first fight, and I was just like, oh, this is gonna be so cool. And then I was like, I don't know what's going on. What is this? This is whack. And then Jason DeLucia comes out, and I'm like, oh man, he does what I do. This is gonna be so cool. And he throws like one spinning kick, and then they end up wrestling a bunch, and then he chokes the guy, and I'm like, there must be something to that. And then I watched the next one. I think there was some other fights that night. I can't remember which ones really stood out to me from the first event, but other than Jason DeLucia. But the next pay-per-view came on. I wanted to see that. I started to like kind of understand it a little bit more. And then I became a tape whore. I was like, I wanted to see. I watched so much Pancras tapes. I used to travel all around Houston, going to these Asian video stores, trying to find things like that.
I still got them all. I got them all. I got them all. Hey, listen, you know what's funny? People didn't know, but when I first saw Boss do it, I saw Boss do it, and that was at a time that you could contact him. So in 1998, I saw it for the first time, and then in 1999, I started the MFC. And what happened was on the first MFC, I called Boss and I said, Boss, my name is Mark Pavlich. I'm starting an MMA organization called the MFC. He says, I want to come. So I was like, wait a second. This is bananas, man. How is this even possible? I'm watching him kick the shit out of, I think it was Funaki or somebody. It was just great. Boss was so violent. That's what I loved about him. Like, he was like, there's sport MMA, right? But he was just violent. And I was attracted to the violence in Boss. So what happened was Boss came to the show and I was like, okay, what do you do for fun? And I was in the entertainment business at that time as well. And I can't tell this. I love Boss and we're friends to this day, so I can't tell those stories on air anymore. but he was a maniac. Like, I mean, he came here and I introduced Sean Tompkins to Boss. And they became, and then you put these two maniacs together. When they went out, it was just like, they would say to me at a certain time, come on, Mark, let's go out after the show. And I was like, no, man, I have wife and kids and I'm going home. Right. Because, and the next day, one of my partners would show me on a video, they're still out, like, and I was like, that was Boss back then. And I seen him do things even when I brought him another time, and he literally was out all night and he took his shirt off in a gym, had his jeans on, and tapped out 3/4 of the UFC on the mat. You know what I mean? And he did that. And it's just because of his bruteness of how he fought. And I think that overwhelmed people when they're doing jiu-jitsu. They didn't realize he was doing jiu-jitsu, but he was fighting you. Yeah. He was fighting.
I know what you mean. Boss is a special kind of guy, man. He was, like I said, I was watching a lot of those Pancras tapes, and he was the king of Pancras.
That's right.
2 or 3 time king of Pancras.
3 times, yeah.
And I was a huge, back then. My 2 favorite fighters were Pele and Boss. And I got to meet Boss in '99. He came to Houston for an event, and I was supposed to fight in Dallas that night, but like he messaged my coach. I don't remember why, potentially to do a seminar. I'm not sure. But when my coach because my coach knew I was a big Boss fan, and he was like, hey, guess what I got a message from? I was like, what? I'm thinking I got an offer for a fight or something. He's like, yeah, Bas Rutten sent me a message. He's coming to Houston. I was like, Bas Rutten's coming to Houston? Are you serious? Are you serious? Man, please ask him. Just please ask him if I could email him. And he's like, I'll ask him. And then he gave me his email the next day. I'm like, Bas Rutten, I'm a huge fan. I'm the biggest fan. I just like, man, I hear you're coming to Houston. When are you coming? He's like, I'm coming on this date. And I'm like, oh, shit, I fight that day in Dallas.
Oh.
And then I was like, I saw that email. I was disappointed. And then my heart, like my heart just drops. But my brain goes, bro, you don't have to fight in Dallas. So I called the promoter in Dallas and like, I'm not coming up there. And then the day that because that guy was kind of like, I remember the first fight, he tried not to pay me, and I was just not going.
Yeah.
So I fought for him once before. So the night that Boss came to Houston, I went to the arena and I walk into the rules meeting and I'm like, man, this is like 1999 in Texas.
Wow.
If anybody does not have an opponent, I will fight them because Bas Rutten is here tonight. I'm fighting. So I got an opponent that night, man.
Oh, wow.
And my roommate was like, man, did you see who you're fighting? And I'm like, no. He's like, bro, he's like 6'2", 6'3", he's like 220. He's jacked. And I was just like, okay. And Boss was like, Eve, if you go out there and you fight and you win, I'm gonna be like, yeah. I'm gonna be like, yeah. So like, don't even worry about it, you know? That's how Boss is, man. And it's on YouTube actually. And,
Really?
YouTube video says, oh, I got something else. I got a side note for this that's funny. I'm gonna tell you at the end. But the YouTube video at the end, somewhere on the video, it says Eve takes an opponent 20 pounds bigger than him. That dude was easily 60 pounds bigger. Like you can see it when you watch the video. But like here's the kicker. Here, this is the part that I didn't know was funny until I went to Canada. This dude's name was Tim Horton. So yeah, I beat up a dude named Tim, a jack dude named
You
Tim
beat him
Horton.
up.
Yeah, his name was Tim the Iron Man Horton. I just beat his legs to death.
I'm gonna look that up.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna write that name down. I'm gonna look him up, see if he's around. You know.
You gotta write that name down. You're gonna forget.
Yeah, no, Tim Horton, man.
Well, you know, it's funny because Boss has been on our show, right? And when we started the podcast, he said, "Mark, I want to be on your show," and he told the greatest stories about fighting people and like all kinds of crazy shit.
He had a Mike Tyson of Holyfield event. Someone bit his ear off
prior
in a fight.
Yeah.
I remember vaguely him saying something about that.
And then Boss almost killed him, like in the fight, and then
Yeah.
and then the fight went out to the crowd, and it was all these bikers that were there, and Boss was smashing everybody.
Was it in Amsterdam or something?
Yeah, Boss was smashing everybody, and he didn't care. Like you have to understand, like this is, I always say that to people. I say there's people that affect you in life, right? And what I say to people is, I think that Boss hasn't been praised enough in the MMA community. And meaning like, yeah, when me and you met him back in the day, Yves, you're right. We all were like Boss. But I even think today, like a lot of the way he teaches MMA and fighting and punching and kicking and kneeing and the rest of it and the mentality, why more people don't go train with him to this day for MMA? Do people think that like carrying a parachute behind you, getting ready for a fight, or jumping over hurdles is the way to get ready?
Flipping
and I get it. I get all that stuff, right? But what I'm trying to tell you is I know how Boss trains. I've seen it. I've been around it. And I think to myself, why is it's not expired what he knows. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I know people get on these bandwagons of this guy's the best trainer and this guy's the best trainer. I remember the first UFC I went to when I trained Jason McDonald, Greg Jackson, all these people watching me hold pads because I grew up in Kronk Gym in Detroit and I knew how to hold pads.
Yeah.
And I didn't hold Muay Thai pads. I held boxing little hand pads and I was holding pads and people were like, oh, whoa, we never seen that before. And that was when Jason McDonald fought in his very first UFC. And I thought to myself, oh, really? And then all of a sudden, years later, all these people were great trainers. And I said to people, wait a second, you know how much great knowledge there is? Even Yves yourself, like imagine the knowledge that you've acquired over all the years of being around certain people. Why wouldn't people run to you? Run. Like, I know you're commentating, you're an analyst, you're an actor, you're a stuntman. But Jesus, man, like, why is the old guard of MMA not valued more for that type of information? That's what it seems like to me.
There's that's funny you say that because that's part of the reason why I moved back to Houston. I wanted to focus more on coaching also, so that's what I'm doing while I'm here. And the thing about Boss, I think for the old school guys, technique is technique, and you have to get your technique down.
Correct.
But like it's a mentality, man. It's an understanding of the things that go into fighting, whether it be the technique, the drive, I've seen, bro, some of those Pancras fights, Boss was losing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But like he didn't lose the fight. You know what I mean? That's a different thing. Yeah, you see that in a lot of guys today still, but there's something about that mentality that you learn through training hard, and it's just from being in the gym, not from like pushing your body to the limit, doing the sprints and doing those other things. Yes, those things help, but that's not fighting. You know, there's this thing about Bas that I remember. Do you remember his first UFC fight against Yoshi Kosaka? Right. It was in Louisiana. I was here in Texas. That's like a 4 or 5 hour drive. We went down there. Bas was like, Yves, he brought me in the back, and then he had me in his corner, right? And
crazy.
Wow.
Go to overtime.
Crazy.
Overtime, and we come back. He comes to the corner because remember back then it was like 12-minute fight and then like a 3-minute overtime.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. Wow. Bringing us back.
He brings me to I'm sitting in the corner. He comes to the corner between the overtime and the regular round, and Marco and those guys are giving him advice, blah 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 blah, and then he just looks at me and he says, "Yves, tell me when there's 1 minute. Tell me when there's 1 minute." And I was like, "All right," and he's going, and the fight goes 2 minutes. We're in the last minute. I'm like, "Boss, 1 minute, 1 minute, boss, 1 minute." That fight was over like 30 seconds later, you know. But like that's who Bas is.
Was that part of the showmanship of it?
I don't know if that was showmanship or it was just like okay, I'm gonna try
the trigger.
If I don't end this before we get to that 1 minute, I'm just pouring all of this into offense.
Yeah,
because like he just lit him up. He just went off on Kosaka. Kosaka went down hard and he just poured it on. They called it. You know. I think it was showmanship a little bit from Bas. Saving that until it was necessary. But I think he was also playing the game, playing the chess match, trying to figure it out and beat this guy because he came from that Pancras style too, you know.
Right.
Like striking on the ground was kind of frowned upon in Pancras back in the day.
That's right.
But like Bas didn't go crazy with it. But like there are some fights where Bas is sitting on his butt and open palming somebody in the face and they don't like it. You know, like they're done. Bas he's one of those guys, man. He's always been one of my heroes, and I love that guy.
That's awesome. Yves, do you see like as time goes on, like there has to be some form of fighter conduct thing put in place? Because, and I'm going to bring this up. I thought about this all day to ask you about this because I know it's super hard for you because you work for the UFC. There's two things I'm going to ask you today that have been driving me nuts, like because it's in my head and I can't get it out and it's weird and I it's driving me crazy. I think like, you know, I owned an organization for a long period of time and I ran it very clean. And what I've been watching is I've been watching certain fighters make certain comments that are like, yeah, sure. You laugh at it when you're watching it on a video, but as a person in the sport, they're like in the NFL, there's a player conduct rule. Okay. And players can say, and people go, oh, I can't stand listening to their interviews. It's so boring, but there's a reason why it's boring because they don't want them swearing. They don't want them using certain words. And that's a reason because we have huge sponsors involved. There's big money involved. And it's not saying you're not telling people who you are. It's just basically saying it's just good taste. Now, I watched Sean Strickland the other day on YouTube, okay, for the first time. And I watched his interview and I saw him talking to reporters. I saw him using all kinds of words that shouldn't be used anymore. And sure, it's funny. Yeah, let's joke around. Let's make it funny. But what I'm trying to tell you is there is going to come a day where sponsors are going to tell UFC to bounce. It's a fact because they're not going to be associated with these type of things. Regardless, I don't have a problem with Dana White. I think he's done an unbelievable job with MMA. That's not the problem. He doesn't want to basically curtail fighters from having their own opinions. I'm okay with your own opinion, but when you start crossing the line, you know, calling reporters fags, your hair looks faggy, this looks faggy, this looks like this, you know, like all these kind of terminology things that are offending a lot of people. Do you think it's time to have a fighter code of conduct rule once and for all in MMA?
I don't see how it hurts the big promotions, you know, UFC, Bellator, one. But it's weird, man. We live in a weird time, bro. Yeah. We live in a time where
I know.
You know, like look at social media, look at Instagram and those things, man. YouTube, like you got to be outrageous to get attention, it seems, and everybody's like chasing the clout. I'm not a big fan of it, but like it's weird. It's the world we live in. But you got some traditional sponsors, but now you have some new guys, some new sponsors who and this is not a knock on Venom, but like say Reebok. Maybe Reebok was like, you know, the money that you guys want is not for what you're giving us for to be attached and associated with something that, you know, people use this kind of language or people do this kind of thing, you know. Maybe the money wasn't worth it for Reebok, but Venom, a smaller company, but they got the money to get in there. Like, maybe they're just like, we'll take that chance, or we don't even care.
Listen, I'm not putting down Venom at all, but I remember I remember when I remember when I met Venom back in the day, and I'm talking, I met them, meaning like we were sitting in the hotel lobby and they came over to talk to me, and it was two guys.
Grown a lot since then.
I know, but that's who it was. Same with the guys from Tapout. I mean, rest his soul, but I met them on the beach with Frank Shamrock. The guy spray painted me a Tapout shirt with a stencil, Mask Lewis, rest in peace, with shit brown stencil that spray painted the word Tapout on it and gave me a shirt. And I looked at Frank Shamrock and I said, "What's this stuff?" And he goes, "Tapout. They'll never make it. Don't worry, man." You know. So what I'm saying is, you know, like Venom could go very far, but you do not see it as a brand. You say, why isn't Nike why isn't the swoosh in the middle of the octagon? Why isn't certain companies on the middle of these things? And then I see recently, and listen, I have no problem with this guy whatsoever. Me and him have made a great men's with each other over the years. One of your colleagues, Joe Rogan, what he just said recently, you know, like, People are messaging me all day today, say, Mark, it's great that white people are giving their opinion on this whole matter. And it's almost comical because every white guy is forgive Joe today. And I said, really? But you know what's funny? I haven't seen a lot of African-Americans, Afro-Canadian, Bahamians, you know, everybody. I haven't seen too many people say anything about it. And I'm curious because I know you work with him, right? And I get along with him well now, but there was a time him and I didn't. What about that? Does he get a pass?
I don't know if he gets a pass. Here's the thing where that's concerned. I remember a couple of the episodes of his podcast, and I'd like to go back and watch them again because there's been times when, like, some of those clips I remember watching or hearing it before. And some of those clips are from times when he's reporting. You know, he's reporting on someone else using someone else saying nigger, right? Mm-hmm. And it's, I remember like catching a feeling about it, but also like all he's doing is he's doing what reporters do when they said the N-word, but he's actually saying the word. Like, so like, is the word so toxic that you can't say it when you're pointing out somebody else said it? Like, I have this thing. I have a friend. He posted, another black guy. He posted something in 2011, and he just got blocked on Facebook for like 30 days because he said something about something about being able to beat out of people's vocabulary, beat it out of them, the word nigger, right? But Facebook went back to 2011, 11 years ago, and they blocked him for 30 days because of that. But also, so I'm like, in my head, I see that, and I'm like, he's in a room or he's somewhere with all of his friends and followers, and some of their friends and followers are there too. And then he just stands up and says, "Stop saying nigger." And then the security comes in, and then they're like, "Oh, you said nigger, you gotta leave." You know what I mean? It's like, it's the word. It's weird because I don't know. I can't speak to this, but I don't believe that Joe says that word in private around white friends as a derogatory thing to black people. I don't believe that. My interactions with him say that that's not the case, but like, I'm also not with him 24/7, so I can't speak to that. I can just say what I believe. The other part to that is, though, people who say, there's plenty of people who say the N-word in public, but say nigger behind closed doors as a derogatory thing towards black people. And it's like, that's the real issue for me. That's the issue that needs to be addressed. And honestly, I was thinking about that literally the day before all this came out. I was thinking like on the new, like the word being said in the context of making of holding people accountable for saying it. Like, does that change the fact that we say the N-word in that case? Does that change the weight Does that change that?
But let me play devil's advocate, Yves. You know why? Because I grew up in Detroit area, Windsor, Detroit. Okay, so I knew what the word cracker meant, and I knew what the N-word meant. Okay, and I know that I was in multiple altercations. That's why these are all fake, and these are fake on this side, because I was in multiple altercations as a kid, because those words were being interchanged with the area I was in. I knew then when I was a child that word was only meant, and it was explained to us very quickly in a derogatory form. It was never cool by any side at that time. No problem. As I grew up as an adult, I see Bill Maher uses it in terminology. And see, I grew up in a legitimate melting pot. My friends were brown, black, white, European, everything. All of us. My kids grew up the exact same way. So my daughter, you can't say to this day in front of her those type of words. My friends, if they thought that was funny to say that,
right,
she would, and you can attest to this, Jesse.
Yeah.
She'll put it on you like immediately. My daughter was in Black Lives Matter movements before it was cool to be in Black Lives Matter movements, okay? Because she is equality for all, like in her mind, like that's just, she lives in that world her entire life. But when I saw Bill Maher use that word, I was like, someone forgot to adjust this prick. Like, he really thinks it's okay to use this. So what did Bill Maher do? He calls it Ice Cube. And I love Ice Cube, but I'm like, Ice Cube, you just didn't do this, did you? Did you just get him off the hook? You came in the next day and you reprimanded him for an hour on his show, telling him how it's not appropriate for him to use the N-word. I couldn't believe it. I love Ice Cube, and I'm thinking, Ice, you didn't do that. You just didn't get him off the hook. Why didn't Bill Maher just come on and say, you know what, guys? I fucked up. I should have never said that. I don't know what was in my brain to say something stupid like that. And same with Joe. I love Joe. But Joe goes and comes on now and starts kind of trying to make sense of it all and this and that. Why doesn't Joe just come on and say, guys, I fucked up. I really did. I was saying it back in the day. I didn't get the memo. I was stupid to do this.
But do you think that was like what you're saying, Yves, though, is like he wasn't saying it that way?
It doesn't matter how he's saying it. It doesn't matter.
So hold on. See. So this is where we come to an impasse. Is where it's one of those. So here we go. This is the best way. I have a friend, my buddy Brian Dixon, right? Like, he would never say that word. But if Brian, he's a white guy. If Brian came up to me and he goes, he's upset, and he goes, I'm like, what? It's like, bro, this dude over there, he just called you a nigger. Like, I'm not mad at Brian for telling me that dude said it. I'm gonna go beat that dude's ass.
Right.
So this is my thing. Like, I remember, like, I can't say, again, like, I don't hang out with Joe all the time, and I don't know every context of that video clip. I know there's been a few times where I've heard him say that reporting on it, but like, if he's ever, like, I don't give him a pass if he's ever said that and like he's trying to be funny or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Now, if he's reporting on it or he's like what trying to discuss the word and like he's just not saying the N word, he's saying like, why is nigger, like, why do people say this, or why, like, I get that. I don't like, I'm not, that doesn't make me comfortable. I don't like that, but I understand you putting it in the context, because like, yeah, just get uncomfortable now, let's talk, right? I get that too, but like, to say it like as a joke or something else, boom, that's what I'm saying. That's where I have the problem, especially. So like, if you come to me and tell me someone else said that, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at the messenger. I'm going after the source.
Right. Yeah.
That's how I see that.
And you're saying more like, you're pointing more at their intent and really their heart of like, I don't say this in public, but I say this in private.
There's a lot of that. You know what I mean? And like, shoot, Joe Biden. I just saw a video of Joe Biden talking about how we already have one nigger mayor and blah blah blah, and it's like, he's not being canceled.
Yeah, no,
yeah, that's hardcore. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
crazy.
And then,
So
who decides to pass and cancel?
But don't forget this too, though. We also have a prime minister of our country that blackfaced less than 10 years ago. So, so that, I mean, that is multiple times. Now, if that's not mind-boggling to people, like, and he's our prime minister of our country, and it's like, you just shake your head and you're like, how is that possible?
They just get away with this kind of stuff, man. And like again, I'm not cutting for Rogan. I don't know all those contexts. I do remember, and I don't remember if it was multiple episodes or not. I do remember before him saying that, and I feel uncomfortable and thinking he's reporting on it. He's not. He's not. There's like, it's literally he's telling you what somebody else said or what somebody else did. So like, when you take some of those things you take out of, man, you can make a video. Like I've said, like, shoot, you can cut this. Like I accidentally punched my daughter in the head. My daughter is 20 months old. I didn't punch her. Like I'm reaching over to get the doorknob, and she's like right between my hand and the doorknob, and I don't see it. And I turn to get it. You know,
but
what
you're
I mean?
saying you could mix it any way you want.
Take
Yeah,
that right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Somebody
You're right.
Can sing and say, punch my daughter in the. I take out the accidentally. You know, punch my daughter in the head. Somebody could say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I would actually punch my daughter, like,
Yes.
I would.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But still,
correct.
It's one of those, and again, like I'm not trying to give him a pass. It's one of those things where it's like I don't know. If I heard one of those contexts and it's like I'm trying to be funny, I'm like, fuck you, Joe.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Right.
Like nobody gets a pass with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But I do remember a couple.
Hence why I asked the question, because I knew when you came on the show today, and when I was on my hike today, I was like, I'm going to slow roll this because I don't hear enough people talking about this. I hear white people talking about this.
Right.
And I'm like, wait a second.
What do you think about that?
What are people messaging me going? People are messaging me going, what do you think about what Joe said? At least 50 people messaged me. And I said, guys, you understand, I'm white. Okay. My opinion doesn't matter. Listen, where I grew up, okay, and I'm telling you this over and again, we knew not to use it in any content. You understand?
Yeah.
Like it was, you want to fight, call me a cracker, and you use the N-word. It's a fight in my neighborhood. It was instantaneously. If you didn't fight, you were ostracized, white or black, from the area. Yeah. Because if you didn't fight because someone called you a cracker or the N-word, it was done. So we knew back then it's not necessary. You call a guy an asshole because he's an asshole. You call someone whatever else because that's who they were. White, black, Chinese, didn't matter. But it just kills me that people that are white now are saying, well, we didn't know. I'm like, where did you grow up, man? Like, where did you grow up that you didn't know? You're better off by apologizing and saying how stupid it was to come out of your mouth and move on instead of like making a reason for saying it. That's just my opinion.
I didn't see any apology.
Me neither.
It's not something I don't consume myself with, you know. But like it's come up, and I scrolling through my feed, I see some people mention it, and I want to know. After seeing the video, I'm like, okay, I remember some of this, but some of this I don't, and some of that could be in that context of trying to be funny, and it's not. So like, I would like to see it,
right,
to know the facts.
Yeah,
but at the same time, Jesse, you were asking about like how I feel about like white people being upset about it, right?
Yeah.
Being upset about it, and it's like you're upset about that, but you're not upset with like the day-to-day injustices that happen that something could be done about. Like like this is some fancy free upset, you know what I mean? Like it's
easy to pile on.
It's very privileged to be upset, to pick what you can be upset.
That's the best way to explain that.
That's a great line. I love it.
Yeah.
Because
it's easy to pile on. It's safe from a distance. But if you have to call your friend out, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Because you have to actually put the rubber on the road then, because hey, there's confrontation now in like directly.
Or actively work for changes that rectify some of the things that exist because of it. You know, like
Correct.
we live in like there's no such thing. Like I hate the term post-racial America or post-racial society.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. There's no such thing as post-racial society until Africans and the African diaspora are no longer exploited. Like that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like. That angers me, man.
How are you enjoying being an analyst I'm gonna soften the back end of the up because
we got a few minutes left with them.
No, because people are chiming in on me and going, okay, stop being so hard. But I'm like, yeah, this had to be talked about today.
Yeah.
But how are you enjoying? Because I love seeing you doing this job, like as an analyst. And I think as time goes on, I think it'll be a bigger role for you. How do you enjoy it as much as I'm enjoying it?
I hope so. I mean, I hope you're enjoying it. I like it. I love it. It keeps me attached to fighting in a way that doesn't hurt. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
I love being able to see a story play out. You know, there's sometimes when I'm watching fights, and I love being able to break it down and tell people what I see from my perspective, especially somebody who's just trying to understand what's going on.
Right.
You know, I can't think of a parallel to it right off the top of my head, but like there's a story happening for the most part in a fight. And if you can see the story, right, and somebody next to you, like my wife, she hadn't watched a whole lot of fighting before we met. And sometimes we're talking about it and I'm telling it to her, and she's seeing it play out, and then she starts to get excited about the climax when the movie's you know, when we get to that point, or when the finish happens, or you know, when it's one of those twist endings or surprise endings and you don't know because it goes to a decision and it's close, you know. So that's a whole lot of fun. I just love teaching people about the sport, man, and teaching people the sport. It's another way of coaching. It also helps with my coaching.
Right.
Helps me be able to recognize things that I take for granted. You know what I mean? When I say something, and it's like, man, you got to dig for the underhook there, and it's like nobody understands.
Yeah.
You know, not understands, but they don't know why. Like why?
Yeah.
Why does he need a post there? Why didn't you know? So explaining that, oh, he's got to post here because he's got to, you know, stop this and do this. And it's like, yeah, like, so I gotta make sure my students get these things down. So like these concepts, some of these concepts that are universal, you guys got to get them. And I have to figure out a way to put that in the curriculum so you get it and you don't have to think about it. Like I don't think about it.
No.
Right.
But like now I have to think about it. There's things I haven't thought about in years.
Now you got to think about it again. Yeah.
What about teasebyeves.com? Come on.
Yeah, so I like most.
I'm digging it, man. I'm digging that whole vibe. I'm digging the whole name. I think you could be way bigger because it's just a cool name.
Thank you, man.
Tease, and I'm gonna put that on all our social media all the time because I think it's a really cool thing. But please go.
It's just something that just kind of came to me one day. I have a lot of ideas for shirts, a lot of things, especially pro black shirts. You know what I mean? That's a big deal to me, man. I want to put out a new shirt design every month. I got a cool one coming out actually on Wednesday. That
Go ahead.
There's this quote, and I wish I had it. I have it somewhere in my phone, but it'll probably take me too long to find. But it's about being uppity, you know, because there are these terms about.
I love that too.
When there's terms about black people when they want to do better, want better for themselves, want to defend themselves throughout the history of this country. Sometimes they've been called uppity. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just because you are, you know, you're educated or whatever.
You want more.
You want more, right?
Yeah.
And you want more for yourself and to do better. It's up, like, is that uppity? And I'm like, if wanting more for myself and my people and wanting to be better or have a better life makes me uppity, then I'm uppity as fuck. So like, there are some people who never step down or never back down.
Yeah.
And I want to use them to represent that state of mind, uppity as fuck, where like it's like you come for me, send who you want, but don't send who you want back.
I love it. That's awesome.
Well, Mark was right when he started the show. He said, "You're a terrific human being," and sitting here with you for almost an hour.
It was too
I
gue
get that vibe.
It was
like,
too quick.
You are a terrific human being.
I just checked. I'm like, are you joking? This thing's over already? I'm like, I got 47 more questions to ask.
But like, I just want to say too, like I really appreciate your input and your insight, and but like real about it. Like, this is what it makes me feel, and that's what I think that we really need more of. And I love how you say all that stuff, and so I really appreciate you doing that and putting yourself out there, because say, hey, there's people you work with, there's organization, there's paychecks involved, and so I really appreciate you being open and honest about that.
That's not a problem, man. One real good friend of mine, guy who I got real close to when I lived in LA, Joe Schilling. He said to me one time,
Kickboxer.
Yeah. He said to me one time, man, like, you're the best at being yourself. Just be you, you know? Like, and I just stopped trying now. I'm just like, I'll just be me. And if you like it, what you see is what you get. If you don't like it, you can leave it.
Yeah. That's right.
But you're still acting. Are you still acting? You're still pursuing acting and stuntman, and
I'm still pursuing acting. I'm still doing stunts. I'm still doing analyst work and commentating. And I want to do it all. I just want to keep going until the wheels fall off.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, there's people Mark and I are the same way. It's like
I'm letting my hair. I'm also doing some crazy stuff with my hair. Like, I'm letting my hair grow. Remember, I used to shave my.
Yeah, it was short. All the pictures I have of you
I'm
were short.
Big fan. I'm a big fan. I used a picture for one of the promo things.
Yeah.
You got a little fro going, and I'm telling you, I dug it, man. I like that. I grew up in that era, and I'm like, that is dope. Keep the fro. You know what I mean? I like it. It's really
Absolutely,
cool.
Man.
Really
I got
cool.
these cornrows going now. I was asking my wife if I should let it out because my hair is about this long.
Yeah. That looks the best. I love it.
Yeah, we should do it again. Next time I'll have the fro out.
Part 2 with the fro and shades, and it'll just kill, man. It'll kill.
Got it.
Well, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Appreciate your time and
Too quick.
Enjoy your evening. And hey, good luck in getting more coaching stuff, because I mean, we need more people like you out there doing this.
We do.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Mark, for having me. You will see some of my guys coming up through these ranks really soon. And
give us a name. Give us a name.
Give us a name. Name the watch.
Who's coming? I'm writing it down. Who's coming?
Rebecca Irwin.
Okay.
Oh,
Rebecca,
cool.
Rebecca Irwin. Okay. You know why? It happens on this show lots, Yves. Yeah. What happens is people say Cyril Gann was on the show, and he was saying, like, he wants to fight for the title, and we're like, listen, Cyril, it's happening for you. It's going to happen for you. And, and weird things have happened. And Rebecca
Irwin.
Rebecca Irwin. She's going to be the woman to beat Valentina.
Ooh, no,
boy, I love this.
Wait a second. We're going to put some stars around that. For sure. That's awesome.
If Valentina doesn't retire by the time she gets there,
she'll put it on her.
I'm not saying she's going to be a challenge. Like, Valentina's
yeah, no joke.
The bar.
Right. Yeah, no
she's
joke.
the bar.
No
but a couple months or years ago, I said the woman who's going to beat Valentina hasn't started training mixed martial arts yet.
And here she is.
Rebecca just started training mixed martial arts a few months.
And you're in Texas, right? You're in Texas.
I'm in Texas. Yeah.
Houston now.
Houston.
Yeah.
Houston,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. And until next time, we have to do this again.
Let's do it.
Yes.
All right.
All power to the people.
Thank you so much, Yves. Thank
See
you so
man.
much.
For sure.
Awesome. Killed it.
Bye-bye.
Killed it.
Oh, he's a great guy.
I look at the time. I'm like, you guys joking? I'm just getting warmed up. We're just getting warmed up here.
Well, hey, that's when you have a good conversation, that's what happens.
Yes.
And again, like, it's so important in this time, and I really appreciate what he said. I like that he pointed at, like, hey, some of this video is out of context, and like, and again, like, so we need to go back and do our own research too, because we need to watch all those clips in context again, rather than the montage that someone put together, like you said.
But can we go on record? Can we go on record right now and let everybody know, like, if you're of white descent, that you don't use the N-word, and then you could save yourself from any more. And I know, listen, I'm not gonna dog Joe Rogan, because I think Joe works super hard, and I don't know. I know it was 12 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying is
that's true too. And he was reporting in those ones that we've seen.
Yeah. And can you find Joe Rogan saying that in the last few years? Probably not, right? So I know it's not an excuse, everybody, but
there was a witch hunt out when the Spotify thing went down.
Yes.
So you knew, hey,
something was coming.
A deep dive's coming here, and there's another round of attack coming.
Oh, they think
and I don't think it's over yet.
Russell Brand's next. These,
Well, Russell Brand actually just did a video about Joe, And so I haven't watched it yet, but I just saw it pop up on my YouTube, so I'm going to watch that. But, I think that, as everyone says, like, it's we've been educated enough to know.
That's right.
Don't go down that road.
Correct.
So, obviously, maybe not, though. Obviously not, because it still happens.
You're right.
So, more needs to happen.
Super Bowl. Who's going to win the Super Bowl, Jesse? Come on.
I'm going to pick the Rams.
Rams, putting it down.
I want the Bengals to win.
Okay.
Cheering for the Bengals, but I believe the Rams are going to take it. I think that Von Miller and Arnold
Donaldson?
Arnold. Darnold. I'm not even freaking out here of the name. But the two pass rushers that will stifle this thing, I think they're going to come and step up. Yeah. And if they do, it's over early. If they can't get to Joe might pick this team apart.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's actually going to be a great game. I actually do think this could be a fight. And
Me too.
Could come down to a fourth quarter thing. I hope it does, because we've been treated to some decent Super Bowls over the last little while.
Correct. It's more evened up now.
It has been. Back in the early 2000s, it was like they're usually trash games, and so I'm really excited about that. I love the Super Bowl. It's my second favorite holiday, and
it's the most exciting day and the most depressing day all at the same time.
It can be.
Yeah. Because you watch the game, you're all excited, and then you realize,
yes, there's no more
NFL season's over for 6 months.
I know.
It's like, oh my god,
it's so long, but it's brilliant too in the same breath.
It is.
And then I guess that's really the big thing. That's. But Valentine's Day next week.
Next week's Valentine's Day, so we're gonna have a repeat. We're gonna have Donald Penn, former Raider, Las Vegas, Oakland Raider, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, replay of Donald Penn for Valentine's Day.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Thanks once again, Yves, for joining us.
Fantastic.
Man, put him on the list for top of 2022 already.
Correct.
So, until next time.
What about Crystal Glass?
Oh, I apologize.
Crystal Glass for all your glass needs, everybody. The clear choice, 310
clear
glass,
choice.
Or go to crystalglass.ca.
Driving around the streets of Edmonton today, it wasn't a clear choice because the slush has come. And if you've been in Alberta during the melt,
you are right.
It is a dirty time.
Very dirty.
But if you get those rock chips because of the melt, call Crystal Glass.
That's it.
They'll fix it for you.
They're fantastic.
That's Mark Pavlich right over there.
Yes.
I'm Jesse Martineau. This has been the Me and Jesse podcast. We'll see you next time. Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks for watching the Me and Jesse podcast. Follow us at facebook.com/Me and Jesse.